Ciao a tutti, or just in plain good old-fashioned English, good evening everyone, and welcome along to League Racing TV, welcome along to EML Premier 1. We are here for Season 4, round number 3 of the Championship, as we take in the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix from, of course, the Emilia Circuit, the historic Emilia Circuit, of course. My name is James Head, I'm going to be taking to the stream, of course, as always, on this very fine Wednesday evening, a very warm, sultry Wednesday evening with my radiator to the left-hand side of me, but joining me in the Cumdrock, as always, it is Mr. Alex the G. Alex, how you doing?
Yes, buonasera from me as well. Good evening from the Imola circuit. I'm feeling great tonight, and yeah, last two races we already had basically 2 race of the season contenders. So will Imola add another one to the list? We shall find out in about an hour or so time. And I'm really excited for this. So yeah, let's just get it on the way as soon as we can, shall we?
Yeah, definitely so indeed, and drivers are now readying up actually because everyone has actually joined the lobby. I've just retweeted that on my Twitter as well for the benefit of everyone that might be following me on Twitter, the championship standings for tonight as well, which is good, Heston, because I didn't have them up, so that's why I've also retweeted them as well. But Team Shazoo lead the way in the Teams Championship on 93 points, FVR in second on 51, currently Shazoo running away with it, you could argue, VER in third on 44, Outplayed Racing in fourth on 42, of course replacing Relentless, who are actually not racing, I believe, here, or unless they are back this week. They might be back this week, of course. ET8 there in 5th on 39, Trust Esports in 6th on 36, GSP in 7th on 29, FRL in Esports in 8th on 26, TTG Esports in 9th on 23, and then LR in 10th on 21 points. Shazoo, though, Alex, leading the way over FVR. VER obviously close on their heels as well, but Shazoo, so far, so good. 2 out of 2 wins, possibly going for 3 out of 3 tonight.
Yeah, so far there's nothing against Shazoo in this EML Premier 1 competition so far. But well, the Imola circuit just won the DRS zone here, and so a qualifying will be pretty important. And you never know, with the start that you get out of this P1 grid slot, will it really be the preferable choice to start on pole today? We will find out, because you don't usually get the greatest launch, considering you do start pretty offset to the side. And therefore, we'll see who really, well, if anyone really wants to stand on that pole position. And, well, who's going to make the best of it. So far, Shazoo, of course, head and shoulders above the rest, but that can always change in a possibly weather-affected session here at Imola. You never know. It always likes to serve up a little treat.
Yeah, you never know indeed, and hopefully it is just going to be plain old dry like we had last week in TML F1. I really hope it is, because obviously it will create a very much fairer opportunity, fairer racing sun as well for the drivers out on track. Of course, Jeddah, Rowan did take the race win as well, and the drivers' standings, as we've got beautiful blue sky and sunshine here, of course, in Imola for EML Premier 1 tonight. Championship standings, by the way, Rowan leading the way in the drivers' standings. We forgot to mention the drivers' standings the last couple of weeks, but Rowan leads the way in the drivers' standings from Jensen in second on 30, Louis in third on 25, and that is very interesting because the first 3 drivers in the championship are Shazoo based, of course. OP in fourth on 25 as well, OP Kian, I should say, in fourth on 25. Marlon and Nadi Perez tied for 5th on 20 points. Robbie and Izzat tied for 7th on 17. Plenty of ties actually going on with Rydadal and Fezzo tied for 9th and 10th. They are on 15 points as well coming into tonight. If you're wondering as well who was actually driving tonight, indeed, in terms of Lobby 1, or in terms of Premier 1, I should say, VAR represented by Marlon and Atlas. This is the lineup that we've got in terms of a graphical, so if there's any changes, they'll try and bring them to you as much as possible. Zabo and Chris representing GSP, Marcus Costa and Rydadal representing the McLarens for the ET8 team, Predator and Oliver for TTG, Izzat and Peas in for Relentless, Stefano and Euron in for FVR, formerly, of course, the Shazoo man of FVR, now FVR Stefano, Louis there, and Rick representing the keywords, the Shazoo boys, I should say, in the AlphaTauri, Keki and Urpek in for NLR, Rotation and Kyle Scarrett in for FRL, and Yosi and Xenox in for Trust Racing Team as well. As, actually, speaking of Trust Racing Team, they've got one of the first guys out on track. Xenox is one of the first, Kyle Scarrett, I believe, is the first out on track, and these guys, Trust Esports, have been doing very well in recent weeks, of course, Alex. Looking forward to seeing, of course, how they actually cope out on track tonight. Obviously, given that I think this is actually Yossi's favourite track, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, now if that is correct, of course, then yeah, he's going to be in for a treat. He's going to want to perform the best he possibly can for his French esports team, who are really got off to a good start so far, but maybe haven't quite got the points that they would have wanted to get. But first of all, yeah, of course, as you said, Kyle Scarrett for the FRL team is on the track and heading towards the two Ravazza corners, and so many corner names here in Imola. It's great. I always love coming here just for the history, for the corner names. It's such a great track.
It is, and they're coming through Ravazza 2 then, through turn 19, on the run down in towards Variante Bassa, which is the little kink on this slide straight down in towards turn number 2 at Tamburello. Kyle Scarrett now sets about on his lap. He's got about 80% of EOS, he already reaching 200 mile an hour in towards Tamburello, breaks just off the 100 metre ball, gets the car rotated in very nicely indeed, through Tamburello chicane, and then on the run down in towards the next chicane, known as the Villeneuve chicane, out on track as well, after Jacques and Gilles Villeneuve named here on the circuit. Kyle Scarrett coming through the right-hander of the Villeneuve chicane, can outrun Liberty out wide, 24.2 in the first sector is not looking too bad. Through Tulsa corner, not to be confused with any other things that we may say here in Europe, that's for sure. As Kyle Scarrett now runs up the hill in towards Piratella at turn number 9, and then down in towards the reprofile section actually of Aqua Minerale. It's reprofile, as I say, because it's different to the Assetto Corsa game around here. Kyle Scarrett now coming through Aqua Minerale, now in towards Variante Alta, which is the top of the hill, highest point on the track, 50.4 in the middle sector from Kyle Scarrett combined, not looking too bad at all. Rides the cover a little bit nicely, coming through the left-hander there of Variante Alta, now once again down in towards Ravazza's, and pretty much that is a lap done. All the old houses there on the right-hand side as well, with the camera crews overhanging on the right-hand side, as now Kyle Scarrett comes through the left-hander at turn 19 on the run to the line. Probably not going to be the quickest lap time I think we'll see tonight, but Kyle Scarrett on the run to the line, 1:15.9 to start off the night. We should be seen, I think, towards the end of the session. 1:14, Stefano has just sent up on a lap. Xenox has already gone for 15.2. Keki is just starting his lap as well, and P's 52.3 in the middle sector. And I can't find anybody apart from Yaron who was actually going across the gravel in the middle sector.
Yeah, of course, this track is so important here to maintain this momentum that you're carrying, but at the same time, it's so unforgiving, as we've got some drivers now crossing the line. I believe that is TTG's Predator there with a 15.6, but as you said, yeah, there's going to be a lot quicker lap times coming here, as I'm currently with TTG Oliver, who is heading through Variante Alta and now down to the Ravazza corners. But certainly we are going to be dipping into the 1:14s, yes. So does Shazoo Academy Rick. That is the fastest lap so far.
And that was the lap time I was aboard with as well. He looked really good coming out of the Ravazzas. He ran very wide, I've got to say, out of Ravazza 1. Not enough, of course, to break the track limits around here. That is natural track limits around here in Imola. Rick now out on top. And we said this about the Academy man last week, who, of course, was in round 2 in Jeddah. He, along with Marcus Costa there, just going second as well with a 15.1. He and Louis have really made a name for themselves so far. Louis is 4/10 off the pace. The Academy man currently outgunning once again his teammate. Surely the Shazoo boys have got to be looking and think this is real pace from Rick. He is doing fantastically well.
Yeah, Rick is honestly a brilliant driver, and that Shazoo Academy tag, I mean, it's only really a matter of time that he's getting rid of that, because the performances he's putting in these team events is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, even as a single driver himself, some brilliant results in PSGL as well. So certainly that Academy tag is, well, I'm not expecting that to stay for much longer, as I believe now a Red Bull is coming towards the line. That would be VAR Atesh making his, well, comeback, if you will. And a 49.8 in the middle sector. That is a fastest lap, 14.8.
Good lap there from Atlas indeed. Rick there in second. Yeah, the VER man, of course, is making his return alongside Marlon, 24.1 in the first sector as well. We'll give a focus to these guys, actually. Rocco, by the way, who I likened last night on a live stream to Osama bin Rocco, down there in 14th position. Don't want to say that, obviously, once again. It is a little bit of a joke from the LOE Division 1 race that we had, of course, on Saturday. 50 flat, though, for Marlon in the middle sector. He is looking very quick indeed. Rides the curve very nicely, coming out of Variante Alta. And he is on a real storm of a lap here. Yaron, by the way, down in 17th. That's not a valid lap time at all. He can go a lot quicker than 1:53.2. He's down there currently in 17th position. Atlas the lad on top, Rick in second, and the former Shazoo man of Stefano there in third. Now representing, of course, FBR. Marlon on the run to the line. 15.5 in the end. Slightly underwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he told me a little bit about the fact that all his new setup is now obviously in part of his racing, and yeah, he's still feeling the effects of that. He's not particularly used to it, which is why his teammate currently 7/10ths faster than him, Atej, on his return here. Impressive lap, impressive banker here, really, from the German driver. And now we're certainly going to have to look towards some of the other quick drivers, but there doesn't seem to be any. Or perhaps Ryderdal on a fast lap. No, he's just gone wide there out of Aqua Minerali. So currently nobody on the lap really, as we are heading towards the middle of the session. And perhaps the team to maybe point out is NLR, as they have again not really stepped up so far with this banker. But we know about Erpek in particular that the qualifying pace really should be coming towards him. And that'll be a big factor, particularly here in Imola, with just the one proper overtaking zone being on the DRS straight. And therefore, we're going to have to look towards when that time comes. Let's see, Relentless Peace. He must have been through the gravel a lot, because that car...
Oh my word.
Yeah, that has taken a little bit of a beating, let's say.
Yeah, he invalidated on his on his last run there, did P, so that's why I think he's obviously backed off his lap coming to the middle sector, and that is why I think he's probably gone for an excursion, just to try and get a bit of extra time in towards the end of the session, which I think will be really good from P's perspective. Of course, the Relentless boys are back this week. OP, of course, the reserve team, not actually filling in. People will argue with me, I'm sure, in the comment section, saying OP are more deserving of a full-time seat than Relentless, and personally, I've got to agree, because OP have got quicker drivers. P's and Rocco, not to diss them whatsoever, 16th and 17th position. The Relentless boys, I'm sure, will be further up the field as we go through tonight's session. Zero as well on a lap for the GSP team. He's coming in towards Piratello at turn number 9. He's the only one, I think, that's actually on a valid lap at this stage. Xenox and Louis, I think, have just started on runs coming across the line, but Zero now coming in toward the right-hander of turn number 13 at Aqua Minerali. Runs out of that very nicely indeed, and his middle sector is a 50.1, so actually not too far off Marlon. Should be expecting him to go around his teammate, I think, with this lap.
Yes, indeed. It's looking pretty good, actually, through Variante Alta in particular. Looking quite committed there without really dropping that rear end. It's so easy to do over that sausage curb. And now the two Ravats are slightly wide into the first one. May just be able to get away with that. And now let's see. Second Ravazza looks pretty good, in fact. And now if he activates that DRS in time, F10 goes up to P8. So definitely quite a bit quicker than we would have expected. But then again, if you look at the gaps, it is very close. Xenox there goes second, just over half a tenth off Atesh. So good luck from him there. Currently on the front row.
There's a huge middle sector from Louis, 49.8, 3.5 tenths up in the middle sector from the Shazoo man, and he looks to try and put his academy teammate right in the wash. Currently, with Louis on a very stonking lap coming to the left-hander of Ravazza. Now on the run down in towards Variante Bassa once again. On the run to the line, Louis might go pole here, and he does. 14.7, a huge lap there from the Shazoo man. Clearly improved 2 tenths of a second in the final sector. Atlas is there in second, Xenox there in third. But now, Louis sets the bar quite high now, 14.7. But Alex, I'm going to come in straight away and say that lap time is very beatable.
Yeah, most likely. I'm just thinking more like middle, like mid-14s here. So we've got Airpack now crossing the line with a good final sector, but only up to 7th. Would have expected a little bit more maybe from the Italian. Of course, his home race here is we've got an ETA car now across the line. That is Ryderdal starting a lap. Certainly there's a little bit more time in there, but that top time, 8 minutes to go. I also agree with you that this is not the final time. It's now, Chris there through the first sector. Ooh, big commitment, but really wide.
And Yaron, right down at the bottom, is nearly at Louis' pace through the middle sector. 49.8. He's only around 3/400ths of a second off through the middle sector. Yaron now coming to the final couple of corners in the Ferrari. The FER man needs to put this on the line. Needs to get ahead of Shazoo. Is he going to go ahead of Shazoo? Not quite. He goes 5th. He goes behind Rick in the end, who's actually just started up, I think, on a run. I was just starting a run, in fact, just in behind him. Louis, though, out on top. Atlas there in second. Xenox there in third. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody actually on a lap. FER Stefano is on a lap. He's 2.5 tenths up coming through the second Ravazza, the Ferrari. Now through the final corner. Bit squirrely on the exit of the corner. Now on the run to the line from Stefano. This is going to go close. And he goes pole. 14.754. And the former PSGL F2 man. Now, of course, in PSGL F1. The former championship leader, I should say, as well. In PSGL F2 before he got promoted. Stefano there out on top. Louis there in second. Atlas there in third. Atlas has just started up on his run coming through Tamburello Barrichello, so I'm going to keep a close eye on what this first sector is from the Red Bull. But Stefano out on top, Louis there in second, Atlas there in third. Atlas is coming to the Villeneuve chicane, coming to the first sector split. 23.9 in the first sector is huge.
That is a massive first sector from Matej. That's brilliant so far. And now into this Piratella corner. It's so tough to get this right. It's just past the 50-meter board where you have to throw the car in. It's Yossi. 3/100ths of a second only. It's so close there at the top. But now we have to keep a look at Atej, who is really quick so far through his middle sector. That looks super committed, staying in fourth gear. And now let's see the split time. It's a 49.7. This is looking extremely good. Variante Alta, no squiggles from the rear end. It's looking really good for Atej, isn't it? Only the 2 Ravatas to go. This is looking like a massive lap.
It is looking like a huge lap from Atlas at this stage. Down in toward the Ravata 1, then in toward Ravata 2. Take the track limits very nicely indeed. Lose a bit of speed actually out of Ravata 2. That might cost him on the run towards the line. Is he going to go top? He does, 14.6. I still think he lost a bit of time on that final corner, though. Atlas out on top, Yossi there in second, Stefano there in third. I'm just trying to flick on board with see who is on lap. Marcus Costas through the first sector. Keki, I think, has just completed a lap on a 15.1.
Oh, we might have a look at Marlon here as well, Atej's teammate. Let's see what that final sector is from him. The first lap hasn't been as good as we maybe would have wanted, but Marlon up to P10. So he's really struggling so far, isn't he?
Well, it must be that new setup, obviously, that he is running, Marlon. Of course, I think he's just got new pedals and everything, if I'm not mistaken. So he's actually upgraded his setup. And he's there in 10th position. And obviously, in a couple of weeks' time, we'll probably say Marlon is going to be up towards the top end of the field. I have no shadow of a doubt about that. But Marlon, currently, in that, what I like to call a transitional period between, obviously, his old setup, obviously his new setup. He invalidates coming to the Villeneuve chicane, obviously on a down lap, as I think you might have spotted something.
Yeah, I thought I did, but it was Shazoo Academy Rick actually on an in-lap. It looked surprisingly quick, to be honest, but his teammate, Shazoo Louis Valentin, currently in fourth. He's looking to go faster than what he currently has, and just starting that lap, Tamburello, 1, 2, and 3. This is looking quite committed here indeed, and we've seen that 23.9 first sector from Atej, but where does Louis shape up in comparison?
49.7 in the middle sector from Xenox. Huge lap coming inbound here from the Trust Esports man. He's there in 5th position, 14.8. Currently, he would go second, just ahead of his teammate Yossi. The TRS boys are out to play here tonight in a wide open qualifying session in EML Premier 1. Atlas out on top, Yossi in second, Stefano in third. That was lovely from Xenox, though, out the final corner, on the run to the line, and he goes ahead of his teammate, goes second, 14.714, 1500ths of a second behind Atlas, 100th of a second ahead of Yossi. Very, very strong session indeed, as I think Louis is up in the middle sector.
Yeah, he is, but he's gone slightly wide there on the exit of Variante Alta. Might have cost him some time, only half a tenth up he was. So now he has to get this Ravazza really right, and yeah, he is locked up. That is the lap gone, unfortunately. Currently, only, if we can say only in quotes, really, only a third row so far for the Shazoo team. It's quite unusual.
But he is only a tenth of a second off Atlas, is what I think we'll probably forget in this session. It is that close between the top 5. And then there's a huge, what I like to call a chasm of a gap between Louis and Rick, of nearly a tenth and a half of a second. And that is a huge gap for Emilia. That is not a gap that people are going to try and catch lightly. Carl Scarrett, by the way, has just backed off his lap. The REL boys, Pease, by the way, not sure what he's doing out on track. He's been going around. I'm guessing he's missed practice, and that's why he's on 8 lap of set a soft compounded tyre, unless it is a strategy call potentially for Relentless boys, which won't be too bad. Rocco, however, though, is on the run towards turn number 1. There's hardly anybody on lap, so we'll ride on board with Rocco for now. Coming to the left-hander of turn number 4 out of Tamburello, in toward the Villeneuve chicane now through the left-hander of turns 5 and turn 6. And judging by his speed coming through there, he's not on a really good run here. 24.7 is nearly a second down on the first sectors, on the best first sectors that we've seen. 23.8, 23.9s. Rocco, though, not on lap. As long as he gets a valid lap in. He nearly runs wide coming out of Piratella. nearly cost him. And actually, he just invalidated. Yeah, Rocco. I'm guessing the Relentless boys have not practiced.
That doesn't look like it, in all honesty. And also the controller. The fact is the controller doesn't help him either. But yeah, that is not a really competitive lap time. And yeah, currently propping up the field of the Relentless drivers. As now we have the first lap starting rotation for the FRL team is now coming across the line, and it's going to have everybody, pretty much the entire
God.
field now. Oh, this could be a problem, and it is. Yeah, that is terrible timing, unfortunately, from the FRL man. Will he keep his foot in? Oh my word!
No,
now he's
to
backed off. Yeah, he had to. That was going to be way too dangerous, and yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye out now. I believe for Ryder Dahl, who's close to starting his lap, along with TTG Predator. But now those final runs, it's going to become extremely hectic again. Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
You know, I've commentated around here many times in Emilia, and I have never seen as strange a thing as I think I've seen coming out the pit lane then, which was literally mirroring, I think, qualifying 3 last season, where everyone just came out the pit lane about 2 minutes ago, and then I literally liken it to Monza, if I'm not mistaken. Monza a couple of years ago, literally like that is the direct comparison. Ryder Dahl through the first sector, it's not too bad, 24 flat through the first sector. He got caught slightly wide coming out of Villeneuve, and now he's up the hill in for the McLaren team, of course. I forget who's actually, because they haven't got tags in their names, I forget who they are. Is it TTG by any chance? Oh no, it's not TTG. Neatly invalidates coming out of Piratella though, and Ryder Dahl in fact is backed off in the ET8 team, I should say.
ET8, yes indeed, that's the one. As we got Predator, I believe, the next on the lap, 24.2 first sector, so it's not exactly the quickest we've got, but he is improving ever so slightly, a 10th up. Predator is so far, and is looking to maybe propel himself ever so slightly further up the field, as now it's going to be a bit of a traffic jam at the rear of the field, but I think they are just going to be good and getting away with it.
Oh my god! Who on earth was that? Was that Rocco? It was somebody and he's invalid.
Has that put him off maybe, perhaps? I'm not too sure, but we've got to believe Shazoo Academy Rick
Atlas
or Marcus Costa.
Atlas is round as well, coming through the first sector, coming out of Villeneuve, who have just literally flicked on board there. Right at that moment, Xenox is through the first sector, Yossi's still to come through the first sector, Stefano's still to come through the first sector, and Louis furthest on a lap. So we'll pick on board with Louis. Nearly runs wide coming out of Piratella, but still on a valid lap at least.
Shazoo Academy Rick are only 1.5 tenths up through the final sector. He might be looking at a good lap. He goes super wide though. Oh, he's got away with it. Maybe got out of the throttle, but it looks like a good lap still from Rick. Let's see, where does he put that car? He goes, stayed in 7th, so there's not as much an improvement as I would have thought. As I believe that would be Kyle Garrett next across the line. And no, he actually is into the pit lane. This is going to be very hectic now.
Yeah, there's hardly going to be any improvements you would imagine toward the end of the session. Louis might get an improvement here on the run toward the line. Finds a bit of time in the final sector. Stefano is down by a 10th. Yossi is down by a 10th. And Jerome now goes quickest. 14.6. Yossi is backed off. Xenox now through the final corner. On the run to the line. The TOS boys. Are they going to go pole? No, he goes second and he's 1,000th clear of Atlas. And in the end, Yossi and Stefano in the end, not improving on his lap. Ryder Dahl is slightly improving. 8,000th up out of the middle sector. He's running very low on fuel as well. The 88 man, he looks to try and go up the field. And in the end, he does improve his time. Didn't improve his position though. Keki is backed off. And that, my friends, is the end of qualifying. I did say hardly anybody will improve, apart from this man here. Out on top, a 14.6 from the former Relentless, now FVR man of your own. Xenox there in second, Atlas there in third. I was so convinced somebody out the top 5 was going to actually deliver the performance in qualifying. We forgot about your own who goes top.
Indeed, yes. We maybe wouldn't have expected so many people to make mistakes on this final run, but it's such a pressure situation, of course, so we can't jump onto the backs of the drivers here to perform better, of course. Could we do it much better? I'm not too sure, but yeah, 14.610 from Jerome puts him top in this quali session and gives FBR certainly a good outlook for this race. As now strategy is really going to come in clutch as to who will go for the hards. Maybe some going for the mediums, you never know, because it is a very viable strategy here with just the one prop overtaking area. But yeah, this is certainly shaping up to be a great race. 6 and 9 only for the championship leaders.
Yeah, definitely so. And in what I said literally earlier on in qualifying was the most wide open session I think we've had. And it is indeed that. Your own out on top from Xenox in second, Atlas there in third with Yossi in fourth, Stefano there in fifth, Louis in sixth, Chris in seventh. He's got form around this track as well. Marcus Costa in eighth, Rick in ninth, Urpec top 10, Rotation in 11th, Radadal in 12th, Marlon down in 13th position. Watch out for him in the race. Keki, Carl Scarrett top 15. Then F1, Zero, Predator, Oliver, Pease, and then Rocco right down the back of the field. The Relentless Boys will be hoping for definite improvements as, of course, the session goes on. Bit of German there being mentioned, which you have replied to. What was Enzo going on about for the VAR team?
It's just a pronunciation, actually, of the second VIR driver next to Marlon, which is Atesh, more or less, something
Atesh.
like that. I'm having to having to kind of juggle with this here in this pronunciation. Of course, I could say this the German way, but it wouldn't suit me at all. So I'm just going with Atesh. Thanks a lot for the correction. I believe that was Enzo in chat. Yeah, there we go. It was Enzo. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, just 20 seconds now, the timer. And I'm really curious for these strategies. I'm going to quickly look in the pause menu if there's any hint of it.
Probably not, unless you might have clicked out of that and hopefully it loads back in.
I actually did. Yeah, I did once, but it looks like it could be a medium start, perhaps for Louis. So this is interesting.
Here we go then. 5 red lights about it, guys, in Emilia. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix round 3 of EML Premier 1 is about to begin. And it is. Light down, away we go, and Jeroen gets a very good start. Xenox alongside him, but the best start I think is going to come from Atesh, who's right on the back there of Yossi. And Yossi, in fact, is going to try and go 3 wide down the straight into turn 1. We've got 3 wide in the background as well. And now Yossi goes right around the outside. He goes on the gravel in the end. And Atlas there and Jeroen. And then Yossi is collected. Yossi collected hard in the wall. There's huge contact even before we got down to Tamburello as well. But Atesh leads the way. Jeroen there in second. Xenox there in third. Stefano fighting as well. More carnage further down the field. And a reset the track there as well from the FBO man. Louis got caught up in that early incident. Yossi, of course, spun off. Not sure what happened down the straight. In the end, though, Chris and Rotation are going side by side up the hill and towards Piratella. Absolute carnage start here in Imola. Atesh, though, leads the way. Jeroen in second. Rick in third, and the front two are pulling away from the rest of the field. I want to rewind that race back to the first lap and realise what on earth has gone on.
That was crazy. There was way too much to keep an eye on there at the back, and there is indeed almost a 1 second gap now from Jeroen to Rick, as there's another spin. That is Erpek across, I believe, yes, and another reset to track, I believe that was actually from Erpek, so down to 16 for him, and it was looking like a pretty good start for him, but now we're going to have to keep an eye more on the action. As they've got Chris right behind Rotation as well, so Ryderdahl following. How is this working out?
And how is Pease up 12 positions from 19th? How is Rocco up 11 positions from 9th? The Oriel boys had a strategy call, and that was their strategy call, to try and make their way through the field. Ryderdahl goes past them both, down in towards Tamburello at turn number 1, and he gets the job done. Ryderdahl, like shot out of a cannon in the ET8 team. He goes into 4th. Chris there in 5th, just forced off track there slightly, but Ryderdahl had entitlement to that position. Rotation now down the inside. He doesn't want to be rotated round. Ryderdahl through, and he's into 4th. Rotation in 5th. Predator, I think, and Marcus have a spin further down the field, but Atesh leads the way. Jeroen in second, Rick in third, and we've got a first VSC of the night. But that was just madness down and towards Tamburello. Ryderdahl, how on earth did he get both of them before Tamburello? Get that car stopped, get him on the brakes. I do not know. Pity about the bad camera angle we had, but Ryderdahl might have just proven off to be overtaken the season, because that was remarkable.
I was just going to ask that, in fact. Is that perhaps the overtake of the season there from Ryderdahl? Crazy commitment there, down the inside and into Tamburello. Brilliant stuff. It's not even a massive braking zone, so you have to really have the confidence there to pull that off, and he has done that. So now with the VSC looking like going away fairly soon, he's probably going to try and get into that DRS somehow, because the chasm between 3 and 4 is pretty big. And yeah, he has to do a lot now to catch up there and join that top 3 fight, and perhaps take an entire train with him. But so far, Atesh making sure of that lead and ahead of Jeroen. So yeah, this is looking very mixed up, of course, due to that chaos on lap 1. But certainly nothing is decided here, as a lot, I think, will be done over the strategy, because overtaking opportunities are very limited. Marcus Costa now in the pits. It was a big incident there at the Bivers as he was sent into the wall, unfortunately.
Cut you off, Alex. Ryderdahl has just been caught absolutely napping. He performed overtake of the season. That might have just been one of the worst restarts of a VSC I think I've ever seen. Ryderdahl there in 5th has literally gone from hero to 0 in about 30 seconds because he absolutely slept off that restart.
Yes, indeed. It didn't look too great there. Into the Villeneuve chicane, I believe it was. It's just a very awkward spot. There's Chris now, really close to the back. And Marlon, someone who was not very good, not very up to standard in quali, is already going for it here. It's a Variante Alta. That's not going well. He has backed out of it slightly, but maybe just put that GSP driver off slightly. And yeah, I believe that gap between P3 and 4 just got even bigger due to Ryderdal's mishap perhaps on that restart. So yeah, certainly very interesting situations up and down the field. ERS will also decide a lot here, as the DRS will now be in use for the first time. Atesh, fastest lap of the race, and in the race lead so far for the VIR team. Looking very good so far, in fact, for the German team.
Marlon as well, speaking of Germans, passing the other, the Dutchman of GSP, Chris. Marlon there through, and he's into 6, Chris there down in 7. Xenox is catching Carl Scarrett quite quickly in towards Tamburello, and actually I think has got past, or was going to get past by Stefano, and in the end Carl Scarrett makes a mistake, and this might be Xenox's and Stefano's free pass to get the job done, and it is indeed, because Xenox is turning, he's into 10th, Stefano there in 11, Kyle Scarrett there in 12th position. Erpek and Zero might follow through as well if Kyle Scarrett is not careful. Looking at the position gains though from the start, which we didn't really include at the end of lap 1 or lap 2, 11 positions gained for Pease, 11 positions gained for Rocco. Everyone else has gained massive positions. Rotation, Ryderdal, Marlon all gaining 7, Rick gaining 6 as well. And actually, Alex, Rick right on the back of the front 2 all of a sudden. The front 2 had that gap of around 1.1 seconds, then they had the VSC, and Rick all of a sudden now on the back of these guys, and he's playing with fire currently, and playing with 15% less ERS, as Marlon, I think, had a mistake coming out of Variante Alta. Otherwise, he's let him through, and he might just get the DRS once again down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, it looked most likely to be that version. Yes, Marlon, it looks like he's just a little bit on the back foot, really, compared to last week. But something that's also a little bit comparable maybe to last week was that this top 3 is already slightly running away. It's Ryderdal that makes the move now back for 4th place. And that was, this time that was actually done easily before the braking zone. But we've got a little overtaking going on. Yes, that is Erpek spun around again. And, such an unfortunate start there to the race from Erpek. Also, last race hasn't been too great for him. But Emilia, such a good track for him. Now is again looking like falling apart. But you never know. Safety cars are always a threat around this place. As Predator there, still to the outside. I'm not so sure if I would have been that committed to try that overtake there.
No, you would never get too wide coming through there. Too wide is difficult coming through the Villeneuve chicane because it's an off-camber chicane. And therefore, always a driver is going to be flung out into the gravel. Predator was the exception rather than the rule there. He got flung out completely off wide. And in the end, nothing that Erpek could have done about it because it was literally the track limits, and the track limits were the gravel as Oliver spun just in front of these guys as well. The TTG man is round, so Oliver round coming there down in 17th position. Luckily, he's got free track to rejoin on. Atesh, though, leads the way. On to lap 6 we go. You're on there in second, Rick in third. Predator's picked up a 3-second penalty. As Stefano lunges, I think, on Rocco coming through Ravazza 1. Rocco might have made a mistake there, and now Xenox is going to try and capitalise on this as well. Could be 3 wide once again in towards turn number 1. Rocco in the end, though, Wash, he's not catching down the straight, and Xenox in the end will not catch Stefano with that DRS in operation. And Stefano there is in 9th, Xenox in 10th, and Rocco in the end all the way down in 11th after, I think, a mistake after Ravazza 1.
Yeah, it was a big mistake from Rocco. He went super deep, and Stefano, in fact, almost hit him. There's a lot of action still going on here.
Yossi and Erpek nearly had a collision coming together there through the Villeneuve, through the Tamburello chicane. Erpek defending very aggressively indeed. Nearly put Yossi off into the gravel and on the sleeping policeman as well. But Erpek there in 14th, Yossi there in 15th, doing a good job for now at least. But Atesh leads the way, Jeroen in second, Rick there in third. Xenox again on the back of Stefano was looking quite close in through Aqua Minerale as Jeroen has picked up a 3-second penalty coming out of Variante Alta. So that is going to be curtains potentially for the FVR man. Pease, though, however, has picked up a 3-second penalty as well as the sun that begins to burn through the clouds here in Emilia, of course, hosted the World Championship of Cycling back in 2019, I think it was. Pre-pandemic it was. And Julian Alaphilippe took the race win. There's your fun fact for the day. Atesh leads the way. Jeroen there in second, Rick there in third. Nobody, I think, is going to be close enough, though, down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, at the moment it's either the DRS being the limiting factor or just the gap itself, because, yeah, it's so important to conserve the ERS around here due to it actually pretty much using up very quickly. So there's a yellow flag there. That is, looks like it's Pease. Yeah, Pease is off. there with a spin out of the Tamburello corner. And now it's looking to slightly fall apart, maybe for the Relentless team, though I don't think they would have expected all too much, as that obviously means Erpek, Yossi, Predator all moving past. And yeah, certainly, as you said, there's not too much action right now going on, but I expect that to change, and it's certainly maybe delay a little bit more into the pit lane. Another yellow flag there, so that is Pease again losing a position. Yeah, it's lost part of his wing as well, so yeah, certainly putting a very, very big difficulty here into his race. As Rocco is now out of the race, crashed out of Aqua Minerale. Could that be a first safety car of the season? Yeah. Yes, it is, and only in round 3. You know, we've had some great standards so far, but this is now the first safety car. And yeah, what will that mean on the strategy front?
Oliver nearly followed Rocco off, in fact, actually coming through Aqua Minerale there. It was the outside curb, I think, that has claimed Rocco. Unfortunately, Rocco there down, of course, going to be right down in the back of the field. He's left the session. Absolute disgust, I'm absolutely sure of that. But Atesh leads the way, Jeroen in second, Rick in third, and yeah, Zero into the pit. Zero into the pit lane. Carl Scarrett in. Erpek is in. Yossi, however, stays out, and I think that's going to be beneficial for the TOS boys because they have been making good ground throughout the field. The FEO man of Stefano is ahead of them as well, and you will want to have FEO Stefano, PSGL F1 man, and VIR Marlon, PSGL F1 man, right ahead of you if you were the TOS boys right now in 9th and 10th position. Azero, Erpek, Carl Scarrett and Oliver all in for a set of mediums. Oliver actually being the exception. He goes on to a set of hard compound tyres, which could make it to the end of the race. 24 laps I think are possible from this point onwards. Mediums, however, though, Zero, Erpek and Carl Scarrett, they are banking on another safety car to come out because they're not getting to the end.
It could be a little bit of a gamble to perhaps go to the end, but it's going to be so difficult to pull off on the tyre wear front, as the track position is so crucial around Imola. But yeah, tyre advantage can still be worth a lot. It just depends on where you use that ERS. As the driver's in fact already caught up to the safety car, and yeah, it's already got the top 11, I suppose. Yeah, Predator, and then we've got this little chasm there too. Zero, who's going to catch up very shortly. The first of the new medium runners, but certainly some drivers to look out for include the ones that are on fresh hards, including TTG Oliver, but mainly perhaps Keke, Louis, of course, in 18th at the moment. Also Marcus Costa, who's had that tangle with one of the TTG drivers and lost his front wing, is on those hards since then, and could certainly be looking to make a difference here because the mediums will be very, very poor towards the end, and that could yet play into the hands of those hard compound tyre runners or the ones who will be pitting later on. And that's, yeah, the strategy. I said it could be decisive, and I think this safety car has certainly thrown a spanner in the works for some.
It has, definitely in terms of strategy as well. Certainly from Zero, Erpek, Carl Scarrett's and Pease's perspective, I think those mediums, from my reckoning and seeing these guys race around here before and seeing what it does on this game, Imola, I normally say 17, 18 laps is probably the limit of the medium compound tyres around here. Now, they've got to make it if they want to go to the end, an extra 5 on top of that. So they've got to be very, very coy, very, very clear in terms of their tyre management. And if their tyre management, of course, doesn't go wrong, as rotation, I think, is lagging there in the background of Shot, running up the hill in towards Piratella. Just slightly there. I think it's recovered now. But Atesh leads the way, Jeroen in second, Rick there in third. The medium compound tyres, however, though, they've got to be very, very careful on those tyres, because if they over-aggressively run, and Zero, of course, goes for moves on the likes of Predator, the likes of Yossi up the field, they're just going to wear away the tyres, whereas the likes of Erpek and Carl Scout can just wait in behind, maybe track Zero through the field, and then try and save their tyres as well. But around a very high-speed track, especially with very high straights as well, it is going to be very, very difficult. Normally, as I say, 17, 18 laps is the limit before they really, really hit the wall, and you start picking up into puncture territory. I've certainly seen from Jazu Tom around here. I think he did 18 laps on a set of mediums, got a puncture, I think second to last lap.
Yeah, I think even the hard compound tyres really are going to be on the edge of their tyre life towards the end of this race, if it does go through the way it does. But I think, yeah, the guys towards the end of the field might well be on for a blinding strategy here with those hard tyres. And certainly some to look out for. It just really depends on just how much the tyre advantage will be from the ones on the mediums later on. And I suppose also how far those mediums will drop off. But as you said, yeah, 23, 24 laps. the medium tyres, that is a massive, massive stretch. But perhaps, maybe, unfortunately, in some way, it does tend to work on this game because of how the DRS works, how the ERS works. And yeah, this is really one to look out for towards the end of this Grand Prix. I think just the tyre wear might well be a bit too high for the medium runners, and they might have to make an extra stop or suffer from the consequences if otherwise.
Enzo as well saying in the chat, saying, Louis, watch out for his call on a set of hard compound tyres. Yeah, I've just flicked on board with him. He's down in 18th position. His set of hard compound tyre call is, I think, better than everyone else around him, which I think from his perspective was really, really good. But the fact of the matter is, he's down there in 18th position. It is going to be very difficult in these early stages and these early laps to try and make ground, especially if these guys are full running, say, the next 8 or 9 laps. Louis is going to struggle for those 8 or 9 laps to try and gain positions. He might have the quickest setup on. He will struggle, though, just purely because of the position that he's in at this moment in time. So, Louis, I think could be towards the top end of the positions as the safety car is coming in this lap. Louis could be in for the top positions, but he really needs to rely on luck rather than anything else in this race. That's where I see it from my perspective anyways. It's Atesh now leads the virtual Bermalander. He is the German virtual safety car, quite literally, as your own right on the back of him as well with that 3-second penalty. And I think Atesh, normally when we see drivers, they go either in the middle of the Ravatas or they go on the exit of the Ravata 2 on the run down and towards Variante Batter, of course, at turn number 1, and then the Tamburello chicane at turn number 2, and he's gone exactly just before the Ravatas. So Atlas now coming through the final corner, Atesh I should say, through the final corner, on the run to the line, has already gained 6 cents clear of your own, but now down the straight, who has been caught napping down the straight? Rotation perhaps has been caught napping. Chris is right on the back of him in towards turn number 1. It is Linus Stern though throughout the field. Marcus Costa's trying to catch Louis further down the field in the end, as Erpek's actually gone past Zero down the straight. So Erpek is through on Zero, and Erpek actually, Zero actually trying to be lost in terms of Kyle Scarrett. Kyle Scarrett nearly got the move done, coming through in 14th. But Erpek there into 12th position. Zero and 1 that slept off the start. In the end, I don't think he had good DRS speed, good ERS actually down the straight. So therefore, Zero there down in 13th. Very calm, collected restart though. Atesh leads the way. Jeroen in second, and Rick in third, and Alex already. Atesh is trying to get Jeroen outside of a second, and why wouldn't he?
Yeah, it's very clearly visible, using a lot of ERS and also pushing like crazy through this middle sector. It is super tough to get this hooked up together, but 7 tenths, almost 8 tenths now, heading into Variante Alta. He's looking really racy as Atesh so far, and it looks like maybe it could work. Perhaps he's looking at that 3-second penalty and thinks to himself, could this maybe be an avenue for me to pull away as Oliver there picks up a 3-second penalty at the back for TTG.
And he's getting overtaken.
It hasn't quite worked out yet, but oof. This is going to be so tough for these. Just more contact made there. Keke is through on Oliver, it looks like. That is P's going wide as well. It's so much going on again. No. Keke gets it done, and that is a spin there. So, yeah, that's just the dangers for Emilia, really.
Yeah, P's reversing back. I think he might cause a disqualification if he's not careful, which of course will be looked at by the stewards, and I hope he does get that car pointing in the right direction. Oliver there in 17th, Marcus Costa there in 18th, P's there in 19th, is reversing down the track. I'm going to keep an eye on this just for the stewards. Now rotates the car around. Lucky for him, he comes in the pit lane, but P's there down in 19th. I wouldn't be surprised if that's at all a retirement. Luckily, though, it is a retirement from P's. He's done the fairest thing. He was going to, I think, cause a safety car there, and if that was the case, then I think it's just sinking to the lowest of the low, if that was the case. Obviously, his wheel might have disconnected, something like that, but to me, reversing down the track, still an AI control, but he is still in control of that car, even as an AI, because he is responsible for his car's actions on this game. As Erpek is through on Predator, that's in towards Variante Alta. Predator there struggling for the TTG team. The NLR man, the former ET8 man of Erpek there in 11th, and Zero actually going around the outside of the Ravatas, gets the job done on the brakes, and Predator has got absolutely no defence for that. Zero around the outside of Ravata 1, gets the job done, and he's into 12th positions. That was very late on the brakes, but very committed. That's what we like to see from Zero.
That's a great move from Zero indeed. He's been getting a bit unlucky in these gone 2 rounds, the previous 2 rounds so far. He's done every race now for GSP, in fact. And maybe now, with this strategy call, could be looking at something better than something, yeah, just outside the top 10. That's not what he would want. And certainly now on this medium strategy could be someone to look out for. And that was crucial moves really being made so far for these guys, as Erpek is now also looking to close in on Yossi. In fact, the 2 TRS drivers who are starting so far up the field got so unlucky there towards the start and middle part of the race. So now that 13 laps are gone, only 20 or so laps to go now, and this is going to be really, really crucial for those medium drivers to get through as many drivers as they possibly can before these eventually have to pit. And it's a very long pit lane here in Imola as well. That is Predator around. Yeah, that is exactly the mistake I believe Rocco made, but he has kept it out of the barrier, but is now dropping down to last. And someone to keep an eye on, Atesh has not really managed to capture Giron as he goes quite wide there as well. 3/10 only is the gap. Under 3/10 is back, and Giron looking very racy now.
Yeah, he's going to go from, I think, down the straight here, down and towards turn number 1, your own right on the back of Atesh. However, EOS is lacking, his speed isn't. He might actually not be close enough for the move here. Your own has to try and think about this. Goes to the right-hand side. Atesh, though, makes that car look as wide as possible. Great defence in the end, but for how long? Because your own now switching it back, coming out of Tamburello. This is perfect from his perspective. He hasn't got any EOS, though, and he can't use that up, and Atesh still holds the lead of the race. Your own there in second, trying to switch it back like Beckham in the 2000s. Atesh there still leads the way. Jeroen there in second, Rick there in third, and in the end, Jeroen still cannot find a way through, and that's because he had to burn all of that battery down the straight, and he couldn't get past him. Atesh might have made 2 moves under the braking zone there. That was 2 moves, though, that he absolutely positioned his car perfectly in.
Yeah, I would have thought so as well. It was a great defense from Atesh, and any tendency maybe perhaps in that first restart lap that the top 3 were running away with it again, that is now out of the window as well, because look at Ryderdahl right on the back carrying an entire train with him, and that is now the top 11 again in a DRS train, and certainly looking all very racy with each other. Atesh now slightly recovering from that mistake earlier on, and is now 6/10 clear of Jeroen, but a very, very potent DRS zone down here. It just depends on that battery. Jeroen, in fact, does not have, as you said earlier, could not perfect that move because of the lack of DRS. And now I would say Atesh is maybe aware of that and is not pushing his battery all too much. And maybe it's even making Jeroen a bit vulnerable towards Rick behind.
Yeah, definitely. So Erpek on the back of Yossi. Carl Scarrett in the background of shot, just out of the tree line. Has got the job done down and towards turn number 1 on Zero. So he's into 12th position. And I was watching for this man, Chris, who's just made the move on rotation. That is where the big snap in terms of the DRS train was going to happen. Rotation was under pressure from Chris. Chris had 65% of ERS. He's got 50% now. He needs to catch back up, obviously, on the back of Ryderdahl. He is the man to watch out for in this pack at this stage. He's there in 5th position, driving well, and Rick is off into the gravel. I think he's just about recovered the car. George Russell style under the safety car in 2020. I think he's got away with it, but Rick has lost the position to Ryderdahl. Ryderdahl in the end is now outside of a second to Jeroen, and that, you know what, is actually perfect for this man. Right behind him it's Chris and Stefano Marlon as well, and actually Marlon I think it's ghosted inside of Stefano. Not sure what's going on here. PG-18 on the run down in towards the Ravazzas. These guys are completely desync. They are battling for position though. I'm not sure who's in what position at all. Stefano there might just get ahead. Marlon is still there, coming through the middle, and Atesh is into the pit lane from the lead of the race. So he is in to the pit lane from the lead of the race. Very early call. These guys are still ghosted inside of each other, and Stefano actually might go for the move of rotation down in towards turn 1. In the end, though, they come out of the ghosting system. Never seen anything like that in Imola before. Jeroen leads the way, Ryderdahl in second, Rick there in third. Stefano, though, and Marlon getting a little bit too close for comfort. That's what after the race is for. Erpek on the back of Ozzy as well, tries to get the job done. Doesn't get the job done, and now he's on the outside line for Tosa. Goes all the way around the outside of Tosa, tries to get the job done, but in the end, Yossi on rejoining forces Erpek off into the grass, and that is that move done as well. But Stefano and Marlon definitely getting a little bit too close for comfort there.
Yeah, and I think both were aware of it as well, because both were pushing out their battery to stay in front of the other one, and in the end it has worked out for Stefano then. He's now in P6, and perhaps trying to chase down some of these guys. I think Atesh might have done that perfectly, because he's come out in perfectly clear air, and he might just profit out of that early pit stop, and the gap to the guys ahead really isn't that big, so perhaps it worked out really well for Atesh. So let's see now for the reaction of those top Well, how many was it in the end? Top 10, I think.
in.
Jeroen is now in, so that is pretty expected. Rydal is in, Rick stays out. And yeah, there's lots of drivers now. Will they respond? Will they not? Marlon is in as well, his teammate, of course. So rotation, Stefano, now Erpek up to P5. These are going to be crucial bases for the drivers on those mediums to try and gain as much time as possible once they are released in the lead.
I have a feeling Jeroen got held up in the pit lane now as well. Atesh is coming to the final corner of the Ratters. This is going to be extraordinarily close coming out of the pit lane here. Ooh. I think this might favour Atesh though more than anyone. Coming out the exit of the pit lane. There's Jeroen. There's Atesh. Brilliant. Atesh has already passed him, and do you know what? He's going to be outside of a second as well. Atesh already a second clear down and towards Tamburello. Jeroen in the end. As I say, I think it was Yossi that came in the pit lane that had was slow coming into the pit lane. Therefore held them up. The Ferrari and the Haas garages are exactly near to each other, and Jeroen in the end is in 12th, and even Atesh there now 1.9 seconds, and Jeroen is under pressure from Rydal of all people as Xenox is looking to try and switch it back out the outside. Oh, what a move this is! Xenox through the outside, now switching it back to the inner of Tulsa. Beautiful move by Xenox. The TRS man is on absolute fire tonight. He has gained a position ahead of Marlon. That is exactly what he needed. He's on a lap pressure tyres. I don't care if he was warmed up in terms of those tyres, but that was a beautiful switch back from Xenox. Maybe pushing it for overtake of the season.
It might well be, because that was a very, very great move. Nothing that Marlon perhaps could have seen coming as he goes pretty wide there, exiting Varianti Alta. But now the three medium runners are released at the top. Erpek, Kauskar, Zero are now in the lead. But Keke, I believe, might well be looking very good as he's still at the head of those hard tyre runners. But Louis and Marcus Costa, P4, P5, P6 for those three. But look at that lap from Atesh. I mean, this is, yeah, it's really going to come down to that. How much time are they going to lose? 15 laps still to go, and the gap's around 10 seconds.
Oliver's right on the mix as well for the TTG boys. He's staying out on that sort of hard compounded tyres, and therefore it's going to cause absolute carnage potentially with rotation. Stefano, Xenox, Marlon and Yossi all behind the TTG man. This is perfect from a TTG perspective. Not perfect though if he guns wide coming out of Villeneuve like that. And that rotation looks to the outside line. Might try and get the switch back on cold tyres. Might try and get the exit though out of Tulsa on the road towards Piratella. And Stefano looking to make this 3 wide as well. He can't though, he's boxed in. If he goes for any sort of move, might try and get the switch back though, and Stefano's still on the back. The start by side in towards Aqua Minerali. Oliver in rotation. Oliver defending the position, but not for long. Rotation bullies his way through to the inside curve, and in the end, it's going to cause a whole knock-on effect in behind. And look at Stefano now side by side and with rotation up in towards Variante Alta, gets the job done. Are you kidding me? The Ferrari through and he's into 12 rotation there in 13. Marlon in the end has came off absolutely worse for wear as a result of that. Oliver in the end in a battle that he really didn't want to get involved in, instead got involved in it. He drove very well up until the point of contact and rejoining through Aqua Minerali, and then in the end Stefano gets the job done. Rotation through, Xenoxen through, and Oliver causing a little bit of chaos, certainly from their perspective out on track, and certainly VAR Marlon is one very unhappy bunny as Yossi is through and Oliver as well.
Yeah, it's a great piece of opportunism there, really, from Stefano to get through on both of them. But he really just had to pick his move there, pick the time for the move, and did it in the end in Variante Alta. But yeah, Marlon coming off very, very short in that battle, which is really unfortunate for him as his teammate. Well, do we call it the effective lead? I'm not too sure. There's still a lot of drivers to get through, of course, particularly the three on the hards. But Marlon, yeah, that is such an unfortunate outing for him so far. And right now, there's not really that many smaller gaps, I would say, in that field. The only one maybe worth looking for is that P3, P4, P5 fight, because Erpek has gone to 2.5 seconds. He does say that it's one of his favorite tracks, but he's in the pits. Okay, so there's an extra stop now for the medium run. Zero's in as well. And that's 5-second penalty for the GSP man. And that releases NLR Keke almost in the lead. Only Carlos Garrett now ahead of him on the medium tyres, but seeing the reactions of Erpek and Zero, that could well mean that he is still another pit stop away from the end of this Grand Prix. Now it would be between Keke and Louis Valentin here for this race victory. It's crazy scenes.
Then they complaining about the lack of respect in space. Oliver had every right to defend. I'm not saying he had not a right to defend that position. He was the car ahead. He was entitled to defend for the position if he wanted to, which is exactly what he did. But to say that the driving standards are a bit of a joke, I think has taken it too far. This is a very much rough and tumble track here in Imola. People have got to remember that, and people have got to remember the driving standards are not as similar as any other track. On the F1 game, as Yossi tries to switch it on Erpek to the inside line of Tosa. In the end, the Haas and the Williams leading each other slightly. The driving standards here, certainly, wheel banging up the straight, not that good. And Yossi in the end, bit of hand of rage, does get the job done. Erpek, though, was not going to be happy with that at all. And in the end, I might have to take Dende's comment back, I think, after that. It's Yossi 13, Erpek there in 14, wheel banging down the straight, and a bit of hand of rage is going a little bit too far.
Yeah, Yossi also last time out, unfortunately, picking up a lot of penalties, and it looks like something similar is maybe continuing to this as Erpek, I'm sure, will not be happy with that one. But now it's got the fresh pass. Carlos Garrett, I believe. Oh, he's actually, wow, he's been overtaken. I thought he was into pit lane there, but Keke actually takes it on track. And that could be crucial to the NLR man's race now, because Carlos Garrett's tyres are not going to be in great condition. So can he perhaps maybe get away a little bit from Louis in that third place in the AlphaTauri for Shazoo? That'll be a big question, but certainly the tyres aren't going to be great. Marlon now sets the fastest lap there at the back, but I don't think that would be too much comfort for him.
Definitely not. Rick as well, the Academy man on the back of Rotterdam. This is from that third position, as you mentioned. Dare I say what might be hovering over the skies above as well? The clouds beginning to build over the circuit. It's getting noticeably darker on the run-up in towards Piratella. Maybe a threat of rain before the end of the race. Now, normally, when it comes over cloudy and it comes over towards the end, normally it brightens up within 2 or 3 laps. So do not take this at all with a pinch of salt. Rick on the back of Rotterdam, however, 7th and 8th position, but it's getting noticeably cloudy out on track. Not saying it's going to rain, far from it in fact. I hope it's going to stay dry to the end of the race so we can get some really good action right until the checkered flag. As Keke leads the way, Kyle Scabbard in second, Louis there in third, but now Louis Valentine right on the back of Kyle Scabbard down in towards turn 1 is not going to be close enough, and the Shazoo man is going to remain in P3 for now, and he can pick and choose his battles. And do you know what? We've totally forgot about these guys, because Keke and Louis in fact could get to the end of the race potentially on those tyres, and if they do, Atesh is 11.5 seconds and he's got to try and catch the back of this pack. Looks quite obsolete towards the end of the race.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I thought so far Atesh maybe around 7 seconds behind Marcus Costa, yes, but he's got another 5-second gap to those 3 ahead. So that's really the gap that Atesh has to catch up, and obviously everybody behind as well. So 11 seconds, as you said, that is a big gap to catch up, even in 10 laps of Imola, which are obviously about to commence with Keke in the lead. And I think the longer Kyle Garrett stays out, the better it could be for Keke in the end. But yeah, this obviously I don't want to throw any curses on anybody here so far, as yeah, these tires do still have to go towards the end of the Grand Prix, and I wouldn't think they're in the best condition now. So that is Marcus Costa now picking up a 3-second penalty. Variante Alta comes back to punish some drivers again.
I'm going to flip this as well, what you've just said. With the sort of hard compounded tyres, are Keke and Louis thinking that the rain is coming before the end of the race? If there is rain due, there is a yellow flag, and that is Oliver, I think it was round, oh, sorry, Predator, that is round, coming through Piratella at turn number 9. Kyle Scabbard is catching Keke in towards turn number 1. But these guys, if they stay on the sort of hards, and if it does come over very cloudy, and if it does rain, as Louis right on the back of Kyle Scabbard coming out of Tamburello, and doesn't get the job done there, Rick on the back of Ryderdale looking close. In the end, doesn't get the job done either. It's all beginning to bubble up to the boil very nicely indeed. But back to the battle for the lead at the minute. These guys on the sort of hards, are they A, either predicting that they're going to get to the end of the race on those tyres, or B, they think that the rain is coming towards the end of the race, and that's why they're staying out on this set of hards, and that will favour them, of course, later on in the race.
Yeah, of course, later you'd always say hindsight is a great thing after all, but nobody can really know that, and that's perhaps maybe the reason why someone like Keke would have stayed out on those hards. And yeah, of course, with Louis, who was at the back due to that unfortunate incident as well at the start, of course, these guys have really had nothing to lose, and now on those hard tyres, perhaps they are looking for a strategy like that. But look, oh, they're really close here now. Carlos Garrett has lost some momentum though, so Louis might be onto something. Marlon with 3 seconds, that is not great of course for him, but look at Louis. Louis is now very much on the back. I think that could be an overtake into turn 1. Ooh, will he get the space? Yes, he will. To the inside, Tamburello, that looks like an easy move indeed from Louis Valentine. Now up into P2, this is going to get spicy now.
Yeah, beautiful indeed. I have put the gap to the leader as well up. And I can report that Atesh, in the last lap and a half, has gained 2.1 seconds on the back of these guys. It was around 12.1 the last time I looked. Now, dead on 10 seconds, and even getting closer. Atesh's tyres, as long as he keeps them in line, and as long as he keeps gaining 2 seconds a lap, which is pretty plausible, the sun now beginning to come through the clouds is definitely not an indication that rain is going to be coming towards the end of the race. Keke now, though, leads the way. Louis in second, Kyle Scarrett in third. Look at that, 16 lap of mediums. Already Kyle Scarrett is out of DRS range to Louis. Louis is a very good driver on his day, but Kyle Scarrett should be really keeping up on those tyres compared to Louis and Keke. Obviously with that DRS, in the end though, he's beginning to lose time, could come into the laps of Marcus Costa if he's not careful, and even then, Atesh could be on the back of Marcus Costa even before Kyle Scarrett gets in front of Marcus Costa before he comes towards the line, of course. As Keke leads the way, Louis there in second, Kyle Scarrett there in third, Kyle still carrying on, of course, for the FRL team. They're looking to actually pick up one of their first point hauls of the season. Kyle Scarrett there in third, rotation they're down in 11th as well. As that, Oliver coming out the pit lane, luckily ahead of the front three. It's going to drive Marcus Costa and Atlas a little bit insane, to be honest.
Well, it could, but at the same time, it might even maybe, well, if Oliver maybe gains enough on this fresh set of softs, it could well be coming in handy for Marcus as well, because he could be slightly distracting that top three, though I wouldn't want to bank on it personally, of course, but it's not impossible. And I feel like what Kyle Scarrett is doing, I'm thinking he's going for that gamble. He's trying to carry those tyres to the end because of this long Imola pit lane. And, of course, Keke and Louis on that hard set of hard compound tyres is much more comfortable of doing that. Is that Marlon, indeed, yeah, at the back there with Zero gets the move done. Beautiful stuff there.
Yeah, Zabel was actually trying to switch it back on the outside, coming out of Tamburello, and in the end, Marlon switch it back on the inside line, got the run in towards Villeneuve chicane, through he's into 15. Even battles happening further down the field, which is really good to see. Rick and Rotterdam could be the next battle as well. They're in 7th and 8th position for now. They could be in a net P3, P4, however, if the guys ahead are still to come in the pit lane. Atesh there, now 8 seconds behind Keke. Now in 2 laps, he's gained another 2 seconds. It's going to be tight towards the end of the race. The time is ebbing away for the guys in the set of hards. And speaking of the guys in the set of hards, thought Libby was going to try and dive it on Keke, but he doesn't. In the end, though, Rick breezes past Rotterdam down the straight, and the ET8 man now in the backwash, in the back ring mirrors of the Shazoo Academy. The Shoe Academy's AlphaTauri, and he's doing there, and he's into 7th position. And Rick is one to watch out for, certainly, in this race, given that your own's got a penalty. Atesh's tires could fall off before the end. This race could still ebb and flow either way, to be honest. Keke, though, leads. Louis in second, Kyle Scarrett in third. And the gap now between Keke and Atesh, 7.5 seconds. He's gained another half a second in that first sector.
Yeah, that's just the tyre difference for you, really. It's always, it's such a big advantage, particularly in Imola. But, yeah, we've got actually Shazoo Frankie in the chat there saying it is Louis Valentin on 55% on those hards. So that's an important stat. Keke would be more or less on the same, I would say, due to that same tyre age. But we really have to see. That is Oliver at the back, I believe. No, that's Predator, actually. Predator round there in the Villeneuve chicane. But gets back on track, and I think Louis might well be going for something here. Oh, he's not using ERS, but he knows that it's powerful. Marcus Costa now is in fact fast, because Kyle Scarrett into the pits, I would assume for a set of softs, can't make those tyres last, or maybe that was his strategy in the end. But I don't think there's much he can gain from there. He's going to have a big tyre advantage, yes, but it's so important, the track position here in Imola, as I believe that is Stefano passed on rotation. No, it's the other way around in the first place, yeah, so positions currently staying as they are, more or less, but still on the strategy front, I think Keke against Louis is going to be the most important battle going on. And Marcus Costa still trying to hold his own. And Atesh, ooh, he's really coming in hard. 6.5 seconds only the gap between Keke and Atesh. This is going to be tight for the old hards versus the fresh and mediums. Who's going to come out on top? Oh, I don't want to predict this.
Atesh continues on the way he is. He could catch these guys, I think, penultimate lap of the race. And if that is the case, it is going to be very good. He's got a rolling roadblock in the 88 man of Marcus Costa ahead of him. There is another yellow flag, and I think that's Yossi that is round. It is indeed Yossi that is round, coming out of Piratella. I think he just got rotated, over-rotated in the car. He's got the car back recovered again. He's down there in 13th position. Saw that on the mini-map. Now 6 seconds the gap, as Marlon picks up a 3-second penalty as well. That is unfortunate for the German. Keke, though, trying to breeze away from Louis, and all of a sudden, the gap now is 0.8 of a second coming across the line, and Louis has just been caught absolutely napping down the straight. Keke did not use up any ERS, just purely the tyres, I think, from Keke, being, I think, a bit fresher than Louis, and that is going to set him in good stead, of course, towards the end of the race. Gap now between Atesh and Keke, still around 6.5 seconds, and this is the problem, as Erpek and Xenox are side by side in towards Tamburello in the background. Atesh there in 4th, as Erpek's going to try and go for the move around the outside in towards, and then in the end, Xenox there, not really causing and making any friends as he had on track tonight. Ozzy is Erpek to the inside line, tries to get the job done. He's on full up pressure tyres. In the end, though, can't get the traction, and in the end, can't get the job done. But Xenox there and Erpek again side by side. These guys, I'm getting the sense that they hate each other now.
It could be very possible, I think, by the end of this race, perhaps, as, Erpek still on these slightly fresher tyres, but just can't get the move done. And it's a bit disappointing, perhaps, because just on Sunday, I would say, I can probably mention this, just on Sunday, he has managed to edge out, of course, this man in 14th right now, but he has edged out VIR Marlon to a victory in Spa-Francorchamps. It was in the EOR event. And so he's definitely got the pace to challenge up there, but he's just getting so unlucky, perhaps, for that NLR team in these other events. As his teammate there, Keke, is still in the lead, but that AlphaTauri is getting ever bigger in that ring mirror of the Williams. And 4 laps, these are going to be the longest 4 laps of Keke's life, aren't they?
They are indeed, but also it's going to be the longest 4 laps of Atesh's life, because I've done the calculations. He only gained about 0.5 of a second last lap around. He is going to get DRS. But Atesh is running out of time fast around these corners here in Emilia, and Keke and Louis, it seems like, for now, unless there's a safety car or anything happens to these two, which I'm not liable for because I don't hold the insurance here in League Racing TV, Keke leads the way, Louis in second. It seems like Alex is going to be between these two, and if I was in the camp of who I wanted to win most, I personally say the man in second, I think, is deserving more than the man in front, even though that goes against your morals, I know for a fact.
I have no problem with that. I am in commentary here for a reason, so I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm not gonna be obviously biased towards any team here, but of course, yeah, an NLR victory. Well, it would certainly look nice for that outfit in that Williams car, but look at Louis now. He's using up all his battery. He's almost got no battery left, whereas look at Keke, about 30%, so maybe some better battery management going on. As Atesh now, indeed, as he's saying, Atesh coming on Marcus Costa. Is that enough for the move? Yes, it is, clearly before the braking zone. And now just 3 laps for Atesh, and he's 4.5 seconds down. There is no way he's catching these two.
4.5 seconds. If he catches 4.5 seconds in 3 laps, I'll give him money at the end of this race. It's impossible. It is literally impossible in terms of this. Zero, by the way, is into the pit lane. He speeds in the pits as well. I think he's going fastest lap attempt, however, so that might get knocked off a little bit towards the end. Predator is 32 seconds down, so he has got enough time to come back out the pit lane and hopefully get ahead of him and go on that side of soft, which he has done as well. But Keke and Louis, it's between these two. Atesh, by the way, now he's clear. Marcus Costa has just set the fastest first sector out of everyone, 3.8 seconds, but it's not enough because these guys have got DRS ahead. Atesh now is in a bit of no man's land, and he is going to be going nowhere quickly. Keke, though, leads the way from Louis there in second, and it's between NLR and Shazoo. 2 teams that I didn't, well, certainly from a Shazoo's perspective, he's there in second. I thought they would have been involved in the race finish for sure. They are looking for 3 out of 3. NLR looking to return to form, not seen since EML Premier last season. Keke has done a fantastic job. In the end, though, the ETA man of Marcus Costa is going to come under the all sorts of pressure because Jerome is going to be breezing on by, and maybe even Rick breezing on by as well down in towards Tamburello. But he doesn't get the job done, and Jerome is into 4th. Marcus there in 5th, and Rick there holds 6th position. Keke, though, leading the way. Louis there in 2nd. Keke has got double the amount of ERS as Louis. Hold on to your hats, NLR boys, because I think this guy might just do it.
Indeed, it looks pretty good so far for Keke, and he's looking like he has saved up that ERS. Could there be some damage perhaps involved for Louis? But I haven't seen him get caught up in anything, so Yeah, the tires, well, the tire age is pretty similar, but maybe just a bit harder for a driving style. I also know for a fact that Keke is one of
Oh my
these
god, no!
guys who...
I thought Rick was going to go for the move down towards Aquaminerali. That would have been absolutely suicidal if he went for that. He might go in for a heel coming out of Variante Alta, trying to get the job done up the hill into a Variante Alta. In the end, doesn't get the job done. He's really hanging me on nerves, that guy, in sixth position.
Keke's out of DRS now from Louis, so it looks like this might just be it. This might just be enough for Keke to hold on just one more lap. And Atesh, 3 seconds behind. There's no way he's catching up. So these are the top two, it looks like, from this Grand Prix. No DRS for Louis Valentin. And this could just seal the deal for today. The man who started 14th in this Imola Grand Prix is looking on for a race victory here. And what a victory it would be to kickstart NLR's season, really, only in Season 3.
Wall's about to be declared in towards Tamburello as Rick tries to go all the way around there to Marcus Costa and he gets the job done! Brilliant stuff! Marcus Costa, he's on 26 that lap old hard, but he still gets the job done. Has to defend off Chris and Ryderdale's through, round the outside of them both, and Chris is through as well. And Chris in the end, the GSP man, he's just nearly spun in the background there, Marcus Costa, but Chris is not going to be happy at that at all. ETA with ultimate team tactics there. Maybe aggressive team tactics. Marcus Costa has got a puncture, and in the end, Ryderdale went around the outside of both of them through Villeneuve, got the job done, into 6th, Christo on the back in 7th. The GSP boys are not going to be happy with that whatsoever. Atesh, by the way, still catching on the front too. Keke, though, comes through Variante Alta for the final time. Who would have thought this would be the race result here in Imola as Marcus Costa again has spun, coming through Peratala. Keke now on the run into the final corner. He qualified out of the top 10. He qualified in 14th position. The boy here, front coming through the final corner. Keke now on the run to the line, wins in Imola for NLR. Louis there in 2nd, Atesh there in 3rd, and Atesh was going like the wind in those final 2 laps. He was catching every single second. Rick there in the end in 4th. Ryderdale in the end drops down to 6th as a result of the penalties. Girona's jumped ahead of him in 5th. Urpek and Xenox, I think, were side by side, and actually Xenox is reversing to the line, and he's just lost a position to Urpek, and I really do not understand why he's just done that, because he's just lost his team a point, and he picked up left side impact damage as well, so I think he must have crashed coming out the final corner. Did Xenox there down N11. The TRS boys in absolute disgust, I'm sure, by that, but Keke takes the win for NLR. Louis there in 2nd for Shazoo. VIR 3rd for Atesh as well. Rick in the end in 4th. Shazoo will still be in the championship lead, of course, for the 2nd and 4th finish, but in the end, Keke, whether you could call it a lucky victory or not, I think he absolutely deserved that. He took the race by the scruff of the neck, took it on the right call, and in the end, the right call paid off.
Yeah, but I would say he did everything he possibly could have done there to achieve this result and held on ahead of a PSG Formula 1 driver in Louis, and I would say exactly deservedly picks up driver of the day for that. 14th to 1st for Keke, and this is the ultimate proof. The points are all in the race.
Points are all in the race, indeed. The safety car really helped. That safety car, I think it was Enzo who mentioned about Louis' tyres. We didn't think Keke had a chance, by the way, and Keke's just gone and proven us all wrong and takes the race win here in for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix here in Imola, dancing his way to the top step of the podium. Why wouldn't he? He's making him look like an absolute goofball at the top of the step of the podium there with that celebration. Pretty much like a guy out of Love Island, but there we are. Coming out of real doldrums, I've got to say. NLR have been nowhere near in the first 2 races. In the end, though, Keke, right strategy call, right attitude for racing as well. Class performance from him, and he takes the race win ahead of Shazoo Louis Valentin there in 2nd. In the end, though, really good race. Obviously, the driving standards will be looked at, I'm sure, by the stewards after the race. But Keke out on top, Louis there in 2nd. Atesh would have been wanting for more 36 laps rather than 32, because I think he would have got them in a couple of laps' time. Rick there in 4th from 9th on the grid, he did well. Jeroen there in 5th, recovered well. Ryderdale in 6th with possibly the overtake of the season on lap 2. Chris there in 7th. Stefano there in 8th on his debut performance for FVR here in EML Premier 1 did well. Rotation there in 9th, and Urpek ran off the top 10 with Xenox in 11th. Yossi in 12th, Kyle Scarrett 13th, Marcus Costa in 14th, Marlon 15th, Zero 16th, Predator 17th, Oliver 18th, Pease there and Rocco all out of the race. Oliver did finish a lap down in the end, down in 18th, Pease there in 19th, Rocco in 20th, and unfortunately for the back 5, they finished in the same positions that they started in as well, which is not good news from their perspective. But Keki takes the win, Louis there in second, and Atesh there in third, in what proved to be a real chaotic, drama-packed Imola Grand Prix as the fireworks, don't know who's setting them off where I live, fireworks apparently going off in the background.
That is, well, I mean, of course, from my own perspective, I'm just saying those fireworks are probably very justified. They're definitely for Keke. They have seen it. And yeah, I mean, this also proves, of course, rounds 1 and 2, no safety cars at all involved in the racing. Just one virtual safety car, of course, we had in Jeddah very late on into the race. But now a full safety car really throwing the strategy in this race completely upside down. And it's proven to give us an absolute banger as, yeah, Keke coming from 14th to win the race. Where have we seen a win from 14th before? I am trying to certainly remember that. And
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do remember that stellar performance from Lewis Hamilton in the German Grand Prix in 2018, but that was completely different. That was weather affected, and this was just completely throughout dry weather. It just proves that anything can happen in such a motor race, and I'm certainly all for it. This was another very good race, and now 3 rounds in, yeah, the team which was previously in last in the standings has now won a Grand Prix as well. It just proves the competition as well, up and down the field, so it's making me super excited for the rounds yet to come.
Yeah, definitely so. We have got a potential interviewer as well. Mr. Atesh wants an invite, the man who finished in P3.
Yep, I will get that sorted.
And also, a bit of news there coming out of the Discord. Keki was on 72% in terms of his tyres at the end of the race. So if Louis was on 55%, and that was, what, 6 laps from the end? I think Keki had fresher tyres than Louis.
I would say that's perhaps a bit less than I expected, yeah. Because, of course, we've seen Marcus Costa, who's got a puncture towards the end. I think these top 2 would have been aware of that, because they have seen him, of course, pretty close to the top 2 all the time, and then dropped off massively towards the end. But yeah, certainly, I would say the top 2 were aware, maybe backed off the push slightly, but it looks like Keke had to do that just a bit less and was able to get out of the DRS range. As yeah, Atesh now has been invited to the party, and hopefully he comes along soon, and I'm yeah, looking forward.
Keke and Louis, by the way, yeah, Keke and Louis, by the way, are not coming because they can't speak any English, which is it's not too bad. I'm sure you'd be able to sacrifice his feelings. I'm sure, Mr. Alex, from the chat. But of course, we can speak to the man who finished in P3, and in the end, of course, that was Atesh, and Atesh. In the end, the wrong call going on that set of medium compound tyres. The front 2 stayed out. You were catching them every single lap. And in the end, P3, I think it's still a solid result. Yeah. Apparently we can't hear your lovely voice, so nobody heard what you were saying there. Yeah, not sure if it might be party settings, maybe?
Yeah, it could be, yep. That's probably the likely thing, as was with me last week as well, at the start of the stream, if you remember. So...
It's weird, it's technology at the end of the day, we can just blame it on technology.
Okay, it's off.
That is totally fine. That is totally fine. So I will ask the first question once again. Of course, P3 finished from you, Atesh. In the end, not enough laps, obviously, to gain, as you were mentioning there, before people can actually hear you. But you couldn't obviously catch enough in terms of that race. Talk us through it, because in the end, third place, I think, is still a very fair result, considering what you went through in that race and how many and how you were gaining towards the end of the race as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I pushed very hard, but yeah, it wasn't enough. I mean, the safety car destroyed it. I had no warnings, had a great pace, every single lap was on the limit. So I think, yeah, more than P3 wasn't. There was no chance to get P1 or stuff like that, because the gap was a little bit too high. Maybe 2 or 3 laps more, and it could maybe work, but I don't think that it was reachable for me. So yeah, I mean, still good points for the team, but nothing more to get to today.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Obviously, the ultimate goals, I think, ahead of you, Keki and Louis, somehow stayed on terms of their tyres, because I was convinced they were going to have to pit towards the end of the race. I was convinced as well that you were catching, it was something like, I think you were 6 or 7 laps into that stint, and you were catching 2 seconds a lap on every single person ahead of you. And then in the end, the tyres just started to ebb away, and it came down to about half a second a lap. And in the end, were the tyres going right towards the end of the race? Because I have a feeling that they were compared to the hards.
I mean, I drove since the first lap on the medium, I think 77s. I mean, I drove in the last lap, I think, just 1/10 slower than my fastest lap. So I drove all the time the same lap times. So I pushed like hell. I had not a lot of ERS because I had to push my ERS completely to get Jerome out of my DRS zone when he came out of the pits. So I had like 25% over the whole stint, so I couldn't really push more than that. It was just like, okay, how much can the tire give me right now? And that was everything I had. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, a little bit more ERS, I think it wouldn't be enough as well, but yeah, what can I say? It's just stupid, because the safety car just, I don't know why it came out, but...
Yeah, I really wish it was different as well, because as I say, you were gaining, what, 2.5 seconds a lap in times, and it was just unfortunate you just ran out of laps in the end, and given that you were 3 seconds back from the winner, it's not too bad at all, and it's still really good going in that second half of the race, even if you tried your best. Trying your best is not enough sometimes, and in the end the laps just run out, and still that P3 finish, of course, as you mentioned, is solid for the team. Mr. Alex the G, over to you. Any questions?
Yeah, it's just really from my side. First of all, of course, congrats. That was a great drive from you, and unfortunately, there wasn't more possible for you. But just one question. Of course, Imola, in my personal opinion, of course, I'm a racer as well. Imola is always one of those tracks where you have to get it very right and be on the limit all the time. But how much of it did you feel in that second stint in particular? Had to catch up as much as possible. You said you were driving super consistently, super quickly throughout the entire time, but how were you feeling? Just talk us through a little bit of the entire process of having to pump in those laps over and over and over again. Yeah, how were you feeling there? Was it really super, super tough, or do you think you were in a good rhythm there in that final part of the race?
I think overall Imola is a track where I'm very good, and it's just like a tunnel. You're just driving, and every single lap it's the same time. And I think I just watched all the time. Okay, how much is the gap to Jerome? That's the only thing. what was my interest in the situation? So the gap to the guys in front, I thought, hey, come on, it's over. Just try to get Jerome out of your DRS and stay like that. And yeah, I pushed like hell, because it was just like, okay, I drove this corner, maybe I lost the 10th, oh shit, he's gaining, okay, I need to push the next corner more, and it was just like that. So I fully focused on Jerome and tried to, I mean, it were hundreds of a second over a whole lap. So one mistake and he's 2/10 there, because he didn't do a mistake as well. So it was really just, okay, Jerome against me, but just without the EOS, it was just, okay, who's faster in this situation? And yeah, just like that.
Yeah, that's really how the rhythm goes, I think, perhaps sometimes. But do you think maybe, I think the normal pit window is around lap 18, lap 8, and lap 19, but you decided to pit lap 16 already, so the tires wouldn't have been too ideal towards the end. Do you think you could have gained more time if you had pitted those 1-2 laps later?
I don't think so, because I mean the undercut is very strong, and I mean I had 65% or stuff like that, so it was not that bad.
Oh.
It was okay. So I knew, okay, I can go to the end with the tire if I went into the pits in lap 15. So I tried that, and yeah, I just pushed like hell, and in the end it was, I think, I don't know, I think lap 16 would have been better, but lap 17 not, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great info, of course, for me as well, because I do some racing as well, if you do see sometimes, and yeah, it's just very, very, very interesting, of course, to hear from such a side, and of course with such quick drivers as well, super fast driver like you are.
On.
It's
You're
yeah.
fast as well, mate.
Thank you. Not something I expected to come out of this, but thanks very much.
And final question for me, obviously, before you go, Atesh, is round 4 of the championship. And round 4 of the championship, if I get the calendar up very quick enough, that is in, of course, Spain next week. How do you think you're going to get on around there if you're racing?
I think I will not race there. I think it will be like Skyline and Andrew. They both of them are very fast there. And yeah, but I heard that there is a quali ban, so I think I did a little mistake in the qualifying. I will watch it later, but I think one of them will start from the last position, how I heard it now. But yeah, I don't know. I think the 2 top 10s are in, definitely, and I hope that the result will be good there as well. But I mean, the drivers from Shazoo and stuff like that, they are so fast. The quali ban is fatal, so you cannot really do anything against them with quali ban. So yeah, I mean, I think they will lose some points just because of my mistake, but I think it will be not that bad.
Well, that is definitely news to us, because we haven't seen anything about a qualifying ban in the EML Discord, so maybe hold your horses on that. Hopefully there's no qualifying ban going to be for the VER boys. Hopefully it is going to be business as usual, as you mentioned, Skyline and Andrew coming in next week for the VIR team. And I will let you go and enjoy your evening, Atesh.
Thank you.
Very welcome indeed. And that wraps up very nicely, of course, for tonight's live stream. A big thank you to Mr. Atesh for giving up his time to give us his thoughts on that race, of course. 3 seconds in the end. Obviously not enough to get the race for him, but still pushed it all the way to the limit, all the way to the line. And that is what we like to see, drivers not giving up, of course, out on track. Jab also mentioned in the comment section there for you two to get a room, which I'm sure is what you will be doing after this live stream is absolutely finished. But that is from Jab's perspective, obviously. We can't really blame him on that one. But as I said, next week we do go to Spain. We're going to be sunning ourselves in maybe Spain, I hope, for the Circuit of Barcelona Catalonia, and of course for the Spanish Grand Prix. And Alex, Spain is a track that the drivers I have tended to see absolutely hate on this game, because the curbs again are very deadly, especially through turn 9.
Very much agreed, in all honesty. Spain, I don't know, it's just always a bit of a bogey track on almost any F1 game calendar. And it's oddly similar in some ways, apart from the fact it's just nowhere near as enjoyable due to the fact of how this track is laid out. There's a lot of medium speed corners, particularly into turn 1, of course, this super long straight, and then we've got this awkward medium speed left-right chicane, right-left chicane, actually, apologies. Which doesn't really promote overtaking that much, but there's always some surprises that can be sprung, perhaps through some drivers being a bit more opportunistic than others, maybe even setup differences. But yeah, that's a very, very fine balance that you have to find around that racetrack. And yeah, the way it's laid out certainly doesn't benefit the way we do go racing around the circuit, but that doesn't say that, you know, there could still be a good race on our hands, and certainly with a mixed up grid like Atesh has perhaps alluded to, we don't know about that yet, but certainly with a grid that could be as shaken up as it was today. We maybe didn't expect the grid to be in the fashion that it was today, and we could yet still be in for a very good race. And I'm certainly still looking forward to a Spanish Grand Prix, which should carried this European leg into a very, very good fashion, as has done Imola today. The debut here in Europe very, very much lived up to its expectations, and yeah, it's looking to carry on. We've pretty much just had bangers this season so far, so Spain, I beg for once, just continue this form and we're going to be in for a treat yet again. I know I say it every time, but I'm just very excited about racing. I can't hide it.
I kind of hope it's going to be a bit of a boring race next week, to be honest. Spain always delivers a boring race when I'm on commentary, so no shadow of a doubt it's probably going to be next week in Spain. And speaking of Spain, of course, we've got TML F1 and F2 tomorrow. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do so, because F1 and F2 is going to be live tomorrow, 8 PM UK time. Myself and I think Alex the G is going to be alongside me this week, because you've got no CTC this week.
I do in fact not have CTC, that is correct. This time it's going to actually be depending on other conditions, but I think tomorrow I may actually be able to make it, so yeah, the pairing returns, and I really, really hope so. It's been so long since I've been on TML again, and of course, as a driver championship, there's no reliance really on the teams, it's all on the drivers, and that's also another big part of excitement that comes across from that racetrack, and yeah, I certainly hope to be there. I think I can. But yeah, nothing yet confirmed. I do hope so, however, because yeah, as I said, a driver championship is always very, very exciting to commentate over, as well as team championships. Both have their benefits, but certainly, yeah, drivers. If it's all on the drivers, it's just a different kind of pressure. So yeah, this is whatever you like, really. It's yeah, we're going to be serving it to you on the League Racing TV channel, and you can certainly look forward to it.
Definitely so, and again, along with the TML action, TML F3 of course on Friday at 8 PM UK time, myself and I think Ivan Bryn Mike's going to be joining me once again in the commentary box for F3, so that should be an absolute treat. And if you did, as I've already mentioned, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you are new to the channel. More EML Premier 1 and 2 action to come next week as well on Wednesday, of course, for the Spanish Grand Prix, which should be interesting, and hopefully we do get an improvement in driving standards, certainly, from our perspective, from Emilia to Spain. Hopefully that is the case, and hopefully drivers learn their lesson, especially one certain French team. I'm looking at you guys, TRS, to try and improve the action out on track as well, which I'm sure is capable, because I know all of you guys are capable of delivering on track as well. And that is where I think we're going to leave it off. We are going to shoot off, and hopefully you did enjoy that stream. For myself and from Alex, thank you so much for watching, and until next time in Spain, adios.